Hi everyone, I hope you can hear me well. Now I can see myself, great. Twitch is happy. Oh, they give you an ad, that's unfortunate. Before you start, are you ever going to introduce us to the missus? Well. Wow, so many people already. Let me know how this time suits you. I think like on a weekend this time is probably fine for pretty much everyone. So let me post the stream on Twitter quickly. What do you mean, does other game must have stolen win from my sales? Right. Well, hello everyone, already so many people. We can even start officially. As always, let's start off with some questions and answers. Some people noticing my keyboard for the first time, maybe it's slightly louder now. Of course, a good old mechanical one. What's the usual turnout to the stream? I guess you mean amount of people. I think the most I ever had was something like 150 concurrent viewers. Last time we had around 40, which was really nice to see considering how randomly I announced it, and that it was the first stream after a long time. Let's see how many we will be today. Try not to do anything interesting for the next 40 minutes. Well, I think I'm in a conflict of interest here. Will I ever add turtles to the game? First, why turtles specifically, and second, I'm sorry, I didn't think about that yet. Yes, we are in Q&A now. Inge, you can give me your questions that you had about zoning. And as I announced on Reddit, zoning will be our general topic today anyways. But I'll say more in detail after the Q&A session what we'll be doing. Am I god or mayor? You mean in Citybound? Like the role of the player? Definitely more like mayor, I would say, but it's like you're all the city administration together. You don't have only the role of the mayor, but also the role of all the more specialized people that you would find in a city administration. And you are slightly more omniscient than a mayor, I guess. Like in reality, you would need to do opinion polls or do research to find out data about your city, and in the game you can just see it, but it should definitely feel more like a mayor than like a god. If we change a road, will the buildings and zones get deleted in the process? What do you mean by change a road? Like change its size or what? When do you expect to be implementing terrain? Good question. I definitely want the core gameplay to be down and enjoyable before I start that, because it will just complicate everything quite a bit, especially road laying, and also geometry of buildings will be affected by that. It's something that's really important to me and close to my heart since I love beautiful terrain, but it will probably take some time until I get there. When will you begin to work on the water-based aspect of the game? For example, rivers, lake, oceans, and so on. Probably at the same time as terrain. Maybe even earlier. Maybe I will make a simple version of lakes and rivers, like a first preview of terrain, like where the world is flat but you already have rivers that you can cross. Because what do you need terrain for in a city builder? Well, basically it's first nice to look at, of course, but secondly it's a challenge to build on or around terrain, and just rivers and lakes that you have to build bridges over would be a nice first step towards that, and could even be done on a flat map. So probably I will even do something like rivers and lakes before I do full 3D terrain. In SimCity and stuff, there tends to be quite a bit of ugly empty spaces between houses, especially on corners. Kind of feels like those spaces could be taken up with gardens or something. Well, what we will do today is pretty related to that. We will re-implement zoning, and in preparation of using what Michael has been working on, which is called straight polygon skeletons, which will be used to create irregularly shaped building lots, which will hopefully make a lot better use of these kinds of empty spaces between houses and corners and so on. When will you get your bachelor's thesis result? Probably end of this month. No, I mean if we change which way it goes in one-way streets, or if we delete it quickly to make it into another road. Well, buildings will only really be affected by changes in roads if a road goes directly over the building footprint. Like they will probably even survive if you build a road through their garden, like their plot will just become smaller. But buildings are, I think, I would like them to be realistically resilient to changes in roads. Like you wouldn't tear down a building just because it's like slightly next to a new road. And about how zones are affected by that, I guess also not a lot. You might need to rezone some small parts if you remove a road. where there was one before, but also nothing really to worry about. With your focus on the game again, when will the game come to a playable level, if you make an assumption on this? I don't really want to guess. I hope as soon as possible. I feel like I have a much better picture now of what exactly I need to implement before I can consider it playable. And for example, what we will work on today is actually the first step towards bringing all of the features that are needed for gameplay together. I like how the game looks currently. How will you keep the terrain to look like current game, or are you going to change the look of the game? Well, I want to keep kind of an abstract style like it has now, but add more detail for just to make it more visually interesting and realistic. I don't want to go completely realistic like SimCity or City Skylines. Like, they don't even go for a completely realistic style, but even like a slightly cartoonish style. I definitely don't want that. I prefer the kind of more elegant abstract style that Citybound already has a little bit, and I want to keep that while making it more detailed. If you shrink a plot because of a road change, will they pay less taxes? I guess so, but that's not implemented. Okay, another question that is complicated. Can we zone along pedestrian only paths to make malls? It's complicated because of the need for good deliveries to shops. Well, a bigger focus on pedestrians is something that I want for Citybound anyways. And of course, this would be realized in small decisions like this, that you can zone along pedestrian only paths. The question is what to do with buildings that actually need road access as well. I don't know, maybe goods could be delivered for a small part on foot, or you could make pedestrian paths that allow vehicles that bring stuff only to the shops, like exclusively them to go there. Like it can often be seen in real life where there are pedestrian zones, but delivery vehicles obviously can use them. Something like that would be nice. How can later police cars, etc. drive through high traffic? I've been kind of thinking about that while I was implementing lane merging behavior and so on, and I think it should be fairly straightforward to implement police cars by making them basically first just more aggressive drivers than common cars, and by forcing other cars to react to them. Yes, that's how I think it will be. As soon as possible. Thanks, Captain Obvious. Well, that's all I can say right now. I don't want to promise anything, guess how quick it will be. So that's all I can say. How's life, Anselm? Life is definitely interesting and great. I'm really enjoying myself, and I'm really glad that I'm back to doing Citybound. Will there be flowers in the game? Yes, there will be beautiful nature in general. Also something really important to me. I don't know when I will be able to focus on it. What about Steam? Will Citybound be there? At some point maybe. It won't be the first thing that I try. I will try something more open and independent first, and something that is especially easier for me to set up. And then when the response and download rates and everything look good, I will try to get on Steam. Will you keep the camera angle the same, or will we be able to pan around? Oh, you will definitely be able to pan around. In real life there would be two entrances to a shop lot, one at the back for deliveries and one at the front for customers. Yes, that could also work, of course. You could make it so land is owned, and when someone builds a house they pay you. If you destroy it, however, you have to pay a fine that is bigger than what they originally paid you. This is actually exactly my plan. Like in Citybound you won't be able to just willy-nilly destroy houses or build roads over existing houses. If you zone some land and a building appears there, this building actually buys the land from the city, and you can no longer use it as if it was yours, so it will actually be exactly like you described. Is Citybound your full-time thing? Now, yes, again, for a long time it wasn't, but now it is my full-time thing again. Are you going to implement a randomized algorithm which can result in car, boat, train and plane crashes and some traffic light system failures across the city? Yes, I will definitely implement random accidents. Yes, that's all I have to say about it. Give me a couple more questions and then I'll describe our topic for today. Yes, exactly. Demolishing fine could be dependent on how many people already live there or how valuable that building is. When will 3D cards be added? I don't know, it's not something important, but at some point. Could you mod the game to have a bigger map, so instead of making a dense city you could make a lower density, more spread out city? Or would it not work with the geometry you're using? Well, the game itself won't have any like spatial size limit at all. Like there won't be a limited map. You can always make your city as low density and spread out as you want. That's completely possible. The only limit the game has is basically the resources of your computer. Like if the population of your city becomes too high, it will just be impossible to quickly enough simulate all of these people. But I won't limit the size of land you can build in at all. On the subject of shopping zones, will you be able to implement a choice of pavement widths? You mean for pedestrian paths? Definitely. Why is everyone so interested if there will be turtles in the game? Guessing this game will be around $9.99 to $19.99. Yes, something like that. During alpha, like early versions, it will be even slightly cheaper than that. But this is definitely the price range I'm aiming for. More. I have a functional, what? Functional programming tab, where? What do you mean, a bookmark or a tab? No, you mean a bookmark. Functional programming, what is it? Functional design patterns, yes. Something that I looked at. Sounded like looked like a good lecture, but I didn't find the original lecture. I just looked at these slides. But it was quite inspiring. Like some of the stuff I've been doing for Citybound, like the new road system, contains some very functional patterns at least. And I like to use this kind of thinking for some stuff. What games do you play? That's a good question, because I think it's been a long time since I've played any game. But mostly, what would I say are my genres, like FPSs, racing games, and what else do I enjoy? Like specific titles, I guess. Of course, someone would ask me what I think about City Skylines. Over the past couple days I watched a lot of Let's Plays, and it's been really interesting for me to see first how much people enjoy it, and then more in detail like what I like about it, what is kind of difficult for them to do in the game. Especially interesting for me was how they interact with the user interface and what works well and what is frustrating and so on. It's definitely interesting to see how strategic players become. Like I think I was watching, who was it, Quill18 or something, who explained in detail like why he designed this highway on-ramp like this, so cars take the correct lanes and don't build up a traffic jam. And it was kind of reassuring to see that players care that much about such tiny details, because I care that much and I want to give them the right tools to care that much. I think this is probably the biggest lesson I learned from Skyline so far. Yes, at some point it will probably be available on Steam. How many people do you expect a good computer to be able to handle? Could you theoretically use a different program to allow you to access lower level for the heavy algorithms? Hard to give any numbers right now. My goal is definitely something like 1 million. Let's see if I manage to do that with the technology that I'm using now. If not, I'm willing and able to implement some parts or the most computationally expensive parts in lower level code and make it quicker that way. I like the old interface of City1 and the old zoning tool. Well, you will see that what we will implement today is pretty much the old zoning tool, just better. And with that, I will use this to do the transition to explain our topic today, which is re-implementing the old zoning tool, where you have roads and you have kind of a brush that you can use to paint zones, and it automatically aligns to roads. And I'm not sure, I could even try to like restore an old version of the game to show you how it works. Let me try if I can do that. I might need to commit some stuff first. Let's see. Let's write this extremely vague commit message so I can switch to an older version. Slightly reorganized stuff and started working on zones. How to make this more. Let's look at the diffs here. And let's be explicitly named runs folder to rows. What else? Stuff here. That's all I think. Commit. Yes, I don't care. Okay, commit. Have you managed to get the traffic working again? Like you said that the new system you wanted was bad broken. Well, traffic doesn't completely support anything again already, but I implemented most of the big features that I wanted, so I can now start to focus on other things as well. What about guidelines for roads? Yes, I noticed that, and probably the other biggest thing I noticed about Skylines was that it's incredibly hard to get nice looking roads. And one reason is because there's not really something like guidelines, and I realized that guidelines are something really important, and I will probably implement them pretty soon. Let's see if I can just check out master here, and that should be an old version of the game. Keyboard I'm using is called CM Storm by Cooler Master Quickfire. It's a small one without a numpad, which I like because it allows me to keep my mouse arm closer to the other arm, which is just more comfortable. So let's see if this old version of the game runs. Looks like it runs. Whoops. Just remember that here you still have to drag roads. How did that work? Like this? Yes, wow. Okay, and why did I go back to this old version of the game? Because here I can show you how zoning used to work. Like you have the zoning brush, which you can drag along roads, and it will zone like that. And you can notice that the edges here are kind of fuzzy, and the reason for that is that the zones are basically stored in a bitmap, like a pixely bitmap, and I kind of made the edges fuzzy to hide that fact, because else they would look really jagged and pixely. And what we're going to do today is re-implement that based on polygons and based on the new road system. Here you can see we still have the old non-multi-lane roads and well, yes, the old implementation of roads, and we will basically port this feature to the new version of roads and make sure that zones will be based on polygons. Yes, the IDE I'm using is WebStorm. Let me switch back to my, where is it, in-dev branch. Let me show you what my progress is, I guess. So my progress on it is not a lot, but for example, if I have a road like this, I have this thing here which shows me basically where the closest road is and how deep that zone there would be. And if I click and drag, I can start painting along the road where I want a new zone to be. And this isn't like the final graphics, of course. I want it to be like these filled areas again, like you saw in the old version. But just for debug purposes, I did it like this. And you can maybe already notice a couple strange things, like if I go back, it doesn't properly remove the line only now, and then if I go forwards again, strange stuff happens. And this is what we will be looking at first. But this already works pretty well. If you have an intersection here, you can even do stuff like just draw here. Come on. Draw here, and you see here in the corner also something weird happens. And I guess most of the time today we will spend with dealing with these kinds of small inaccuracies, and then just see how far we get in re-implementing the drawing of roads, of zones. Matt Ultimate, can you please keep that question for the next Q&A and just ask again, then I will answer it. So, first, one thing that you might notice is that I've been always drawing zones along the direction of the road, like cars would go. If I do it backwards, it works fine until one section of the road, and then something weird starts to happen, and that's the first thing I want to address. So let's open that file. Zoning, no, not the image file. Zoning.js. And here we see a lot of like very nested if code, which we will only make more complicated. And so far I basically almost only implemented the forward case. How to explain what happens here? Maybe I will draw something. So we have two road segments, for example, or even more. And now we start drawing along them. Maybe we start here. And we start drawing, and that's completely fine so far. And then if we go over the end of one road, we have to add a point in our path of zoning here, if that makes sense. Like we have to basically notice that we're now onto a new section of road, and add this point to our path. Then we continue, and at this point we need to add another point, and then we could stop here, for example, and then our zoning part would consist of these three sections here. And this works already in the forward direction. Like if we're following the road segments along their driving direction. What doesn't work yet is, let me try to get rid of this. If we draw in the opposite direction, which should be possible, of course. Like if we draw like this, it works along one segment just fine. But as soon as we go over the end of the segment, we don't handle this case for backwards drawing yet. You two guys, please also keep your questions for the next Q&A session. Just post them again and I will answer them. Alright, so I hope it's kind of clear what we're trying to do now. First, we have to detect this case where we draw backwards on a road section and then go to the previous one. So this should happen inside this if, where these road sections are called lane bundles in CityBound, where the closest lane bundle is no longer the last lane bundle we were drawing at. Like we went over the end of one lane bundle that we were drawing along, and now we're onto another one. And here you can see the case if we draw forwards and we go onto the next lane bundle, and now we just have to do the opposite case. So else, and we will also use this all next lane bundles function that is defined in lane bundle, which gives us for each lane bundle all the following lane bundles. Like if we have a lane bundle like this, and then 3 other ones like this, it would give us all of them. And we basically check if we have, if we have 2 lane bundles and this was our old one and this was our current one, if these two are connected, like is our old lane bundle a next one for our current lane bundle where we draw. I hope that makes sense. If not, you'll see it in code now anyways. So if closest lane bundle, which is like the lane bundle closest to our cursor, its all next lane bundles contain the last lane bundle we were zoning last lane bundle. That means we now went to the previous lane bundle and we should push, did I close that? We should, like we maybe started drawing somewhere here and we went to the previous one and we should now add this point. So the beginning point of the old lane bundle is what we'll add. Lane bundle, last one, and offset on this lane bundle is 0. We want to add the beginning. And then we say our new last lane that we were drawing on is now the closest lane bundle again. Does the code work with overlapping roads that are not connected, like bridges? You mean the zoning code specifically, or the code in general? Like, can it handle that? So let's see, now we should be able, whoops, fix this typo, to draw backwards. Let's see. Everybody should put cats in their game, so should you. Well, good advice. Okay, something strange happens but it kinda works, and the problem is probably that the order of points is wrong. Like if we go backwards, here's the first point, this is the second point, and then the order is wrong. Let me think about what the order might be. So this is these two are correct, I hope, because I told it to do it like that. But maybe we should add numbers just to make sure. Yes, we need to order it backwards. But I think the case is pretty easily detectable. Let me think about the order in which we have those points now. Let me actually just log them to make sure I understand. Well, we're already at 87 viewers, not bad. Does it mean I have to try to be more interesting? I don't know, but today we will deal with fiddly stuff like that. Let's watch the console output when we do something like why did it stop? I have a breakpoint here. Alright. Okay, so that's even crazier, and I need to do that differently. Let's just start with 2 segments. Okay, so something like that, and now which order is it? So first we have this point, makes sense, and then 0, and then this point. So the order is actually how I want it to be. And we just have to swap the last 2, I guess. And I think we only have to add this as a condition here. Is the only case where this can happen? Yes, I guess. Might not be enough to cover it, but let's see. No, it's just completely wrong. But the second part looks better. Oi. This should of course be or. Why does it close it off? Like everything else is correct, but it closes the path off. Why? Yes, I don't understand how you people can be watching other streams and be programming yourselves. Like I tried to watch Michael's stream while I was also programming, but I don't know, maybe I'm just not good at multitasking, but it was really difficult for me. I don't understand why it decides to connect back to the first point again. Because that's actually what it does. That's crazy. Well, the problem is that the lanes are defined in terms of their direction. So I can't really like just ignore the lane direction because it's a property that they always have. Like lanes are defined to go from point A to point B, and from that they gain their direction. And if I draw in the opposite direction, I have to make sure that I do so properly. I think this should amount to the same. It's like this, it works fine. Like this too, and here it creates an additional connection. Why? Let's, I guess, output the path that we create. So it's just two. We have one from yes. It looks like this even though it consists of only two segments, and that's weird. see if they are connected properly. Looks like yes, but the order of them is wrong. Now how to fix that? Well, nice to see you again, Text Mirror. Yes, I can turn the microphone a little bit up. I guess I'm kind of far away from it and talking pretty quietly. So let me know if it's better now. Okay, if we completely don't do that, what will be the result? Then this part works fine, but this one is broken. Why does it change anything if we swap those two? So maybe I don't even need to do that at all. Or no, it's just wrongly connected then. Sorry for being a little bit lost here. Oh no, just the same thing happens. So this doesn't even affect anything. Yes, that makes no difference. Did I misunderstand something? So we have two pairs here, one like this and one like this, and the problem is the order is backwards. How to find out that we should just reverse it? We should probably in this case not push it but unshift it, I guess, like add it to the beginning of the array. And then let's see. Nope. That's just completely wrong. about we don't do that at all, but we just try to insert points at the right position in the first place. So here we want to unshift. And here we want to do it depending on if we do it forwards or backwards. So let's do that the other way around. You use closest line bundle 0. And here no, but then why so difficult? I'm glad that you guys have something to talk about, because I'm kind of confused. I hope you don't mind too much. That was fine. That's also fine. Will it just be completely reversed? Probably. Then that was fine then. Let's see if this kind of fixes it. Nope. That's bad. but the line comes first. But the curve is the wrong way around. No, the line is the wrong way around. Something is telling me that I shouldn't be thinking about all of these special cases of like forwards and backwards. There should be a simpler way to do it. I should just add these points, and whenever I encounter one. Okay, sure. Then how to get the right direction set points. Basically don't reverse the order at all. You just invert the direction. Looks good. And now the problem is we also need to do it in another case. Yes, we need to add this case again. Looks like it works actually. Let's try more complicated examples, like more segments. Okay, this test isn't enough, obviously. Oh wait, how did I manage to break it? By completely skipping over it like that. Yes, we need to think about that case again. But apart from that, if I do it slowly, it works properly in both directions. Let's try with an intersection. Okay, if I do it slowly, then it works. Alright, let me answer this question, because I think you noticed that there are only 2 buttons left. The UI seems really simplified. Is this just temporary or more long-term? And I will use this question to talk actually about my longer term planning for zoning and the user interface. And the idea really is to radically simplify the user interface. Basically, there will be only 3 UI modes, which will be drawing roads, drawing zones, or clicking on stuff. And this will cover everything that you can do in the game. Now, this might sound strange because you might think like, oh, but there's so much more to do. But first, it's important to realize that almost everything in Citybound will be a zone, even civic buildings such as police stations or schools or hospitals or city administration buildings, they will also be zones, not ploppables. So you can really do a lot with just the zone tool. And all the other information you will be able to get by just clicking on buildings, like tax information, like taxation or budget, you get by clicking on the main city administration building, for example. And it will be similar with everything else. I hope that kind of makes sense. So the UI will be really as simple as that. Only you create roads, you set zones, and you click on stuff. And I hope that kind of answers your question. So this is really the first step of a long-term development of a really streamlined UI. So if you have a big hospital zone, will it grow with the city needs? Yes, it will grow with the city needs and based on the amount of funding you give it. Like obviously the hospital can only become bigger if you give it more funding, but that's how it's supposed to work. Right now in the code, following the road is more important. Like you can't just go to another closest road, it won't work, it will try to find a connection. All right, I'm glad that you like it, this idea. It was a suggestion of Michael, who saw like how simple the tools already are, and we already agreed on this idea that pretty much everything is a zone. And he then told me, well, why don't you just really simplify the UI and make this to reflect this fact? And now you might ask yourself, like, how will it work to set these different zones? And basically the way it will work is you just zone something, and it's not any specific zone yet, it's just a generic zone. And then as soon as you let go, you can set the type for this zone. And not only the type of the zone, but also much more detailed parameters like maximum building height, required amount of parking or maximum amount of parking. You can combine different zone types by selecting multiple possible zones and all kinds of crazy stuff like that. So the way it will work is basically first you select a plot of land that you want to set some zoning and regulations to, you let go, then there will be a window where you can set all of that. And you can either choose to like just do something very simple and just set the simple zone type, or to go into detail and add all kinds of regulations you can think of. Yes, of course, this is also my idea, but the idea to make the user interface this simple came from Michael, and the idea to first paint a zone and then set its properties, and I really like that. Let's see, depending on how far we get today, we might even start to implement that. All right, I will make myself a new tea. We will have a tiny Q&A session and then we'll just continue, all right? So feel free to already post your questions and I will answer them once I'm back. Alright, I'm back. Let me see what you guys want to know. So the user interface will have no little minimap or something like that? No, I don't really think it's needed. You can just zoom out at any point to get an overview of the whole city. Oh no, you will miss all the programming today. Let's do this Q&A quickly. Still, city services and government buildings will cost money to run while we get taxes from others as income. Exactly. Also, the new zoning indicator will see us how deep it goes when we are laying roads. What do you mean when we are laying roads? Like it shows you the depth of the zone that you will create, and it will look different than now. This is just for debugging purposes to see if we catch the right path here. Someone was asking about grade separation. I'll go further in that question, ask if height restrictions on bridges will be included. Like overpasses for big trucks, like why so specific? Like, do you want to see accidents where too tall trucks run into bridges or what? Or you want that to actually affect where cars can go? Like that seems pretty detailed. I don't know if it's needed. Minimetro has a very simple user interface too. Yes, I really like Minimetro, and I might steal their user interface for doing stuff like, well, connecting metro and bus lines, for example. Would be nice if it was as streamlined as in that game. Off-topic questions. Please, can I soon see a road junction where one road has permanent priority and the other road has to wait for a gap? Yeah, there's no way in the user interface yet to set an intersection to have one yielding road and one priority road, but it's possible in the code, and I hope that soon I will implement this implement choosing between different kinds of intersections, like if it should have yielding or a traffic light. I see that the roads look different and I do like it. Do you still plan to have an individual lane manipulation drawing complex intersections? Does it already work, or do you have to re-implement the code that you had before? For individual lanes, I have to re-implement that, but this amount of control is definitely still possible. And I will re-implement it soon. Wait, no information overlays, etc. in the interface? What do you mean by information overlays? Like layers? Well, there will be layers, definitely. But yes, there will be layers, that's all there is to say. Will there be public transportations? If yes, how do you want to implement it? I always was not sure about how much control I want to give the player, but after seeing in City Skylines that it can be pretty straightforward to even draw bus lines, for example, I think I also want this amount of control, like not only setting bus stops, but even connecting them with specific lines. How much influence will the player have on the actual shape of a zone? Will it be more like a path drawing tool, or will the zones just snap to the road and have a fixed width? Well, no, it will be more like a path drawing tool. You can see that how I can set the depth of the zone and then draw along a road, if it would work properly. But that's only one way of doing that. Another way that I will implement once this works properly is a completely free-form drawing tool where you can basically draw an arbitrary polygon that isn't even connected to any street, and that can also be a zone. So you will have complete and detailed control over the shape of zones. Will there be ploppable transportation as buildings, e.g. airport? No, airport will also be a zone. Everything will be a zone. Please allow terrain painting so we don't have grass in all the areas between zones. Yeah, but what do you mean terrain painting? Like to paint pavement there? Well, how about there just exists a pavement zone that you can zone in between and it will look different. Right, I would say enough Q&A for now. I will drink a little tea and then we'll continue. Paint concrete, for example. Yes, I would just create like a plaza zone or something like that that includes concrete. Well, there will be a generic park zone and that could just be a parameter of this park zone, which kind of ground you want it to have, and you can then use that to fill like these in-between spots. But ideally there shouldn't even be that many. Like the lots should just fill it out completely with irregular plot shapes. So let me move you guys over there and let's continue. So drawing along multiple sections seems to work great if we do it slowly. But then I have an additional case that I'm handling where I'm drawing here and then my mouse completely skips this middle section and I just go over here and it detects that and automatically adds the middle section, but right now it does so in a wrong way. Like something weird just happens. Why did it work? Like, yes, that didn't work correctly at all. So let me try to address that and make sure it works in both directions. So this is this case where we try to find a connecting lane bundle between the last lane bundle and the closest lane bundle we're at now. And if we find one, we add it in there like that. But this case also applies there, so that's why it does that. To distinguish between them. Well, I could just do it like that instead. Yes, works good in this direction. Doesn't work in this direction yet. And here works well. And doesn't work in this direction yet. Alright, so let's handle the other case as well. So if we drew backwards, we try to find one between the closest one now and the last one. Yes. And again, if there is one. then we want to add hey guys who just joined, if you have questions please leave them for the next Q&A session and I will answer them then. So I think here I just need to swap them here or just set here this one to 0, both of them to 0. Let's see. Yes, looks correct. And here also looks correct. Great. I just guessed the correct implementation, I guess. Let's test it with an intersection. Should be able to do this as well as this. This as well as this. Yep, looks like it works great. All right. That's pretty good. Let's add another intersection and try even more complicated stuff. Like, can we do one quick motion like that, one quick motion like that? All seems to work. We can even be, pretty imprecise. Now one thing that doesn't really work great yet. Yes, I see that little loop. That's probably what we'll deal with next. One thing that's still kind of weird is if I draw and then go back, it kind of doesn't do that properly, and then go forwards again. That doesn't really work properly yet. Like, weird stuff happens. But that's not as important right now for the stream. That's like a small detail I can fix later. First I want to get rid of these small loops, like Arbustum calls them, which occur here, for example. Do you see this loop in the corner? Or here, I guess. Well, that's just a great quote. And I'm not sure if it sounds impressive or horrible. So how to detect these tiny loops and how to fix them? I mean, what we want to do is here at this loop, just detect that there's a self-intersection basically, and cut away all the unneeded stuff and just leave in a sharp corner. You would be surprised how much code in CityBound works because I guessed it at some point. Like, sometimes it's just faster than to think through it properly. The problem is, of course, that you might end up with really strange bugs that you didn't predict. I hope this won't happen in this case. Oh no, I closed chat. Please don't write anything important. Let me get it back. Or just pop out this chat. Oh, but it completely reloads it. Well, come on, load faster. Alright, great. I hope I didn't miss anything important. So let's create a function that we could call something like simplify path, I guess. Okay, and first let's find intersections. Or we could even create this in path. It's probably much more reasonable to do it here. So here would be a nice place. Simplify self-intersections, I guess. We can always give it a better name later. So for var s is 0, s smaller than number of segments of this path. Now here you can kind of see that a path consists of segments which are either line segments or circular arcs. And what we will do is we will look at each segment of the path and intersect it with all other segments, or try to find an intersection, and then cut away the loop part basically. So let's do that. We only need to check, is that correct, from S. If we want to check all pairs. Completely random, but this game will have an FOV slider. This is JavaScript. I think you mean JavaScript, not which language I'm talking in. I hope it's understandable enough to be recognizable as English. Alright. So let me see if it's as simple as I think. that's great. I will use the amazingly incorrect plural of information, infos. Right. Intersections of segment and other segment, simple as that. And let's output them because I don't remember exactly which information is contained there or which we will get. So let's see. Guys, again, please keep your questions for next Q&A session. Let's see if we get an intersection here, a self-intersection. Here we get one. Which information do we get? Mainly the position. So what do we want to have? What do we want to happen if we have a self-intersection? Let me try to draw. Like we have our path, which also consists of segments. And then we have something like this, and here we have a self-intersection. So our new simplified path should contain this point, the intersection point. We should forget about all the points in between, so we should jump to this segment next, and then continue with these points as usual. So kind of leave away everything in between. I see we're starting to have philosophical discussions about unity. But I won't go into why I didn't use it for Citybound, even though it looks great as a generic game engine nowadays. Alright. Let me try to imagine all the stuff that I need to do inside here to do that properly. Why is the indentation so weird here? Okay, first we're only interested in the position. And only in the first intersection of these. So like that. I guess we need to do it. Boy, accidentally switched to Russian. I don't even Windows key in space. Seriously? Okay. Почему я не говорю на вашем языке? А почему should I? Would be a nice thing to try though, like just start one stream or try to start one stream completely in Russian and see how quickly people will leave. Why do you hope so? That's strange. Which difference does it make? All right. Let me concentrate on what the hell I'm trying to do here. So if we didn't have, oh okay, if we found a self-intersection, what is it, like random Russian words that you know competition or what? So if we found a self-intersection, we will just use, we'll create a new intermediary segment. Or rather two of them. One from the first segment to the intersection, and then from the intersection to the other segment that we intersected with, if that makes any sense to you. If not, you will see it in a second. Which direction to use here? I just realized that I became completely quiet. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get this code working properly, and hopefully in a second we can look at if it does what I hope it does. So unfortunately, geometrical code like this is not really easy to follow or explain or interesting to look at. And then we just continue with S as next segment index. And let's see if that does at all what I hope it does. So what happened? In this direction it works. It removes the loop and we get a sharp corner, as you can see. And yes, seems like it works in one direction. Maybe we should prevent it from happening. Yes, I think we have one case where it shouldn't be done. Where a segment basically intersects with the next one but in their connection point. Here it works great though, but I wonder why only in this direction. Loops are still there in some cases and we get some other unwanted behavior that is new. Let me try to fix some stuff. Something like that. Let me try if that fixed one issue. Something went wrong. Well, now it even works in two directions. And come on, why? What happened? Why can't I draw here? That's weird. Now I can. And here I can't. What? Maybe if we didn't find an intersection, I should also do something reasonable. Push the current segment. Looks good. It's slightly wonky, but we will also address that soon. Let's try more complicated stuff. Like what could be more complicated? Like let's try very steep angles basically, like this. Then see, no, looks completely good. There can all kinds of weird stuff can happen if I do something that I'm not supposed to be doing yet, but apart from that, seems to work great in both directions. All right. That's good. Let me make sure that there's enough water for tea, and then in a second make new tea and do a short Q&A session, and then we'll continue again. So I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back with some new tea and I will answer some questions now. So all those people whom I'm told to please ask later, feel free to ask now. Apparently Michael just got up. For him it's 3 AM. He got up just for the stream, which is pretty amazing. And first let's make him an OP in the chat. Did that work? No, why no? Hey, I want to OP him. And he tells me that his geometry clipper code can also remove self-intersections. But I don't know, I guess I implemented a simple version of that myself. I will have a look later if I can remove my code again, because maybe it already exists somewhere, but for now I'll just use my one. Alright. You have added him as a moderator, so he should be a moderator now, but it also said unable to connect to chat. I hope internet is still working fine and my stream is still going. Let me check Twitch. If everything seems to be fine. Well, yes, maybe just chat had an hiccup. If you guys could write something in the chat, if everything is working fine for you, that would be great. Alright, I can still see myself, so the stream didn't die, that's good. Alright, so seems to be working fine. Yes, don't worry. So I hope there weren't any questions in between. If someone posted a question during this time here, please just post it again. Will there be stuff like UFO attacks, earthquakes, etc.? I'm not sure about UFO attacks. Would be nice to also have something fun, but earthquakes and similar realistic catastrophes definitely. Everything is awesome. Well, that's great to hear. Stream runs fine. Well, congratulations on marrying the girl of your dreams. Because of this, I presume you will be probably staying in Russia from now on. Well, I will stay in Russia for a couple more months and then go back to Germany to do my master's there. And my wife, aka girl of my dreams, will follow me there. And after that, we'll just see where we live. But for now, we have a plan. Will you add city interactions like in SimCity 5? You mean interactions between several cities? First, no. First, I will only focus on one city, but make it as big and interesting as possible. So you can even have interaction between suburbs, for example, within one city tile. How big will the city plot be anyway? Well, I said earlier that there won't be a fixed size limit. It basically grows with your city as much as you want and won't be visible as a border in any way. Have you made any other games? Yes, he has. You can check out some of them on my humble homepage, aplay.co. And you can even play them. See, I made a bunch of smaller games. You can try them out. Sorry if it was already covered, but do traffic lights already work for intersections with more than 4 roads? They should. I didn't test it yet because I don't have the user interface to connect more than 4 roads to an intersection, but I will have pretty soon. Well, I'm not sure what to answer to this suggestion. But maybe it could be a mod, who knows? It will take off, I'm sure. Will the electricity become available for all buildings automatically, or will you have to connect the streets with wires? I want electricity to work similarly to SimCity 5, where cables are just automatically laying with roads. Like inside roads there are also wires and you don't really have to think about it. Only if you want to do more complicated stuff, like have an island that is not connected by roads, then you will need to connect wires by hand. Will there be Wi-Fi? I kind of want internet as infrastructure to be something that's important in the game, but I'm not quite sure what effects I wanted to have on the city. There are several ones that are possible, like Michael says, we already have it on our list of ideas, but yes, it's something that I kind of want to have. What was my reaction to finding out Max's Emeryville was closed? Well, as someone who has been greatly influenced by Max's games, not only throughout my childhood, but from the very beginning of my childhood, I was definitely sad to hear that. It's really unfortunate that EA only seems to want to focus on The Sims as the only profitable franchise out of Max's lately. It's understandable with how, if you look at how the new SimCity went, but it's kind of sad to see those people who have been working there for so long and who actually created kind of a legacy to be just fired like that. Yeah, City Skylines has water pipes and electricity. I don't know, for me it was... Actually, I'm kind of torn if it was a mechanic that was kind of annoying for me or not. But I think I enjoyed in the new SimCity that you didn't have to do this manual laying of pipes and electricity. How do you plan to implement the content of your bachelor thesis into the game? Will it be only realistic water behavior? Or is there more to it, like movement behavior of crowds of people? Interesting that you would apply to that. But the way I do the fluid simulation is not really applicable to other fluidy stuff like rods of people. Because my fluid simulation is not particle based but mesh based. Yes, this would be probably the most important influence of internet. They can telework and even order goods instead of going shopping, which can reduce traffic, of course. Will there be trees you can brush on the map? Yes, most definitely. Michael just wrote me, I had the idea to try doing a live stream with him in a conversation, like on Hangouts or something, and just see how that goes. And I'd say, let's try that. Like, I will put on my headphones and I'll start having a conversation with Michael. Maybe I will need to change some settings, but let's try that. So I will tell him to please call me. And let's see how it goes. Might be fun to have a conversation going while I'm also doing stuff. Alright, do you use any libraries like Pixie.js or Three.js? If not, tell me why. I'm using Three.js, but I think in the medium term I will move away from it. Hold on, so Michael is calling. I don't know if I can show his picture on stream. All right, hi Michael. Can you hear me? Amazing. Can I? Yes. Can I show you on stream? Is it fine? All right. What do you mean? Ah, yes. I don't know why it was. Ah, no, because OBS is using it. Do you understand? Well, guys, here's Michael. I think you can't hear him yet. Say something, please, Michael. Just anything? Okay.
Here's an image of me, but no audio.
No, I think they should be able to hear you because now in OBS I enabled system sounds to be recorded as well. So if anyone in the chat could please confirm if they can hear Michael, that would be amazing. They still can't hear you. Please tell me if you can hear him now.
I posted some topical questions in the chat, but like for instance, I noticed in a Let's Play of Cities Skylines, someone had the great idea of trying to line their roads with trees to reduce noise pollution.
All right, so apparently now people can hear you, which is great. And about that idea, like, did they actually model it like that, that tree-lined roads reduce noise pollution, or is it just something that this player invented?
It didn't work in the game. So, I mean, it's used in real life, and also giant cement barriers are used against highways to reduce pollution too. I just thought it was a really good idea. And in SimCity 5, you could use trees to soak up ground pollution, which didn't seem to be working in Cities Skylines either.
Ah, interesting. Well, I don't know what's realistic, I guess.
So this is actually...
It's actually what?
It's this is actually pushing your internet right to the edge here. Like your voice sort of semi breaks up.
Oh, for you. I hope that the stream is still kind of fine. I think I saw the bandwidth go down, and you seem to have a like much larger delay than usually. So, what would you think about maybe trying this again? Like tomorrow or something in private, but not during our usual stream. Like it's a nice experiment right now.
Yeah.
But
well, I mean, it would be a fun idea to try.
Yeah. Like let's try to get the technology working, and then let's try to do it some other time. All right.
Okay, let's go back to the regular chat.
Yeah. Yeah, we can send there.
Bye, everyone.
But thanks for trying. Bye, Michael. All right, so I hope you didn't mind the small experiment. But yeah, I mean, it's great to also just have him in chat and respond to questions as well. So let me try to see what I missed. Will every inhabitant of the city have his own life, profession, etc.? Yes, they will. How do you keep... Whoops. I should try to not press buttons with my headphones. Where's chat here? How do you keep a running copy of the game in Node WebKit without rebuilding all the time? What do you mean rebuilding? Like what is there to build? I just refresh the page inside Node WebKit. All right, so let me try to first address Michael's question about using trees for noise pollution. I also think that it's used like that in real life. About ground pollution, I don't know. Probably it also works, but it's probably something much more longer term than in real life. Like, I don't think you can just put trees into dirty ground and expect it to become clean soon. So yeah, it would be nice to use it for noise reduction. Will I use the water simulation for lava? That would be amazing. And why not? I mean, if water is modeled, why not model another liquid? Especially if it has really interesting effects like lava. Have you heard about world designing in city skylines? What do you mean, like that you can create your own height maps? Is that what you're referring to? Will every inhabitant of the city be simulated? If yes, won't it be a problem in a larger city? Yes, that's the goal. Let's see how far we can push performance on that. But that's definitely our design philosophy there. All right. I would say your last questions, please, before we continue. Sorry for this kind of like small, confusing, what to even call it, intermission, I guess. But I guess it was only confusing to me. But slowly I'm back with you guys. With all these liquids, will they freeze over in winter? Well, after spending a winter in Russia, I would say it would be an incomplete game if there wasn't freezing of bodies of water. Even if it's just something nice to look at. Well, RG, that's just perfect timing. Just for you, I will show you what we did. We can now figure out the correct path for zones, even in acute corners like this. And in a second we'll continue to actually create the depth of the lot and the line on the back here. That's interesting because I really wanted pollution to also be visual, but I guess you're right that you have to be careful to not make it too cartoony. No, this is not what I need. I want to get the self-intersecting paths completely gone. I will check what the clipper does, but right now I will use my implementation. Yeah, I mean, as soon as there's 3D terrain, importing height maps is just an obvious thing, and I'm pretty sure that Citybound will support something like that. All right, let's continue with code. And for that, so like I just said, what we want to do now is to add the back path basically on the far side away from the road. And for that we just, let's call it outer preview zoning path. And we just take the preview zoning path and offset it perpendicularly by our current zoning depth. And then, well, let's just create another